Dude, what is going on right now, dude? This is boulders after boulders, daggers after daggers. Told you, mother. Said most boring election of our lifetime, but has the capacity to become the most interesting. Call it Jovid. It's Jover because he's got Jovid.
Republicans wrapping up the second night of their convention here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, putting on a carefully choreographed show of party unity as the Democrats remain divided over.
We need to come together to kick out Brandon. Dude, the Democrats are more unified than ever. When have you ever seen someone like me and Nancy Pelosi aligned on what the Democratic Party must do? Have you ever seen that? Not the Progressive Caucus? Yes, the Progressive Caucus has made a bet. I think it's a win-win for them regardless, because it doesn't matter if Biden loses, then yeah, whoever comes in as the replacement, if they're a progressive figure, are going to work with them. It's not going to be a progressive figure anyway. If Biden actually stays in the race, then at least they have, in their minds, at least they have like some leverage over Biden because they stood loyal by his side. That's their strategy. And every day, I've been trying to explain this since day one. Like I've been trying to tell you, there's a different reason for why they're doing this. And every new piece of information that comes out kind of proves that. The Biden campaign is saying they're going to be held to account for the first 100 days of progressive policy. Do I believe that? Absolutely not. But that is the gamble. That is the bargain. Okay. But it's not there's nothing to lose. There's no downside for there's no downside for the progressives to support Joe Biden. There's only upside for them in their calculation. They can't change the outcome. When Nancy Pelosi is the one leading the charge and Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi are having conversations about replacing Joe Biden, this is not a conversation where AOC has to let her voice be heard or Bernie Sanders has to let his voice be heard. If anything, my criticism of what they've done so far is to reiterate their support and commitment to Joe Biden. That I think is bad. Just stay away from it. You don't have to write New York Times op-eds. You don't have to defend Biden left and right. Just don't say anything.
The future of President Biden's candidacy. Let's bring in CNN's Jeff Zeleny, who has more on the Democrats in, as is said, Democrats in disarray. Jeff, what are you picking up?
Jake, we heard throughout the evening the Democratic disarray and disunity really was the subject of punchline from Republican speaker after speaker, but it's anything but amusing to Democratic officials who are still dealing with this anger and alarm and panic that is coursing through the Democratic Party. Yes, the attention this week is focused on Republicans, but inside the Democratic Party, there are party leaders who are even more worried by the day as time is running out, who believe that President Biden is a drag on the Democratic ticket. So talking to a variety of Democratic officials here in Wisconsin and in other battleground states as well as nationally, they are concerned that these punchlines about the president's age, his fitness for office, his command of the office will become a fait accompli in the general election campaign. And it's sort of ironic here, Jake, that 1 year ago, right here in this very hall, Republicans had their first debate. So it was thought at the time that the Republican primary would be messy and divisive, and Democrats thought they sort of dodged a bullet, if you will, by not having a primary on the Democratic side. Now it looks considerably different. There is disunity in the Democratic Party and division.
Wait, what?
So even as President Biden is vowing to stay in the race, senators and House members we are speaking with are still very concerned about this. So look for all that to continue. And one other Democrat was watching Nikki Haley very carefully as well. For a time, they thought that her voters may be open to them. That is unclear. I talked to one Haley voter tonight who lives in the suburbs of Milwaukee. She told me, I'm voting for President Trump. Not her first choice, but she said the choice she'll make in November. Jake.
All right, Jeff Zeleny, thanks so much. And let's talk about what Democrats are doing behind closed doors, because I was able to get my hands on some polling from the firm Blue Labs. This is a polling funded by some Democratic donors, and this kind of project is going on all over the country right now. It looks, it's a survey of 15,000 voters in several battleground states, and it shows, first of all, there's a early July polling that has already been reported on showing that President Biden is losing ground to Donald Trump in 14 key states across the country. This includes not only the 5 that Biden flipped against Trump in 2020, that's Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. But in addition, post-debate, It's like Waterloo. He's vulnerable in Colorado. He's vulnerable in Minnesota. He's vulnerable in Maine. He's vulnerable in New Mexico and Virginia and New Hampshire. Now, what this poll did was look at alternatives. First of all, it found that nearly every tested Democrat that this polling firm looked at performs better than the president. This includes Vice President Harris. But the top four in these seven battleground states, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, Wes Moore of Maryland, Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. And they have a whole complex way of looking at it and whether or not these people can take votes from Trump that Trump is currently winning and bring them back. And those are the top four. And again, this is just one poll, but this is really indicative of where the Democratic Party is, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 of President Biden's aides, and I assume his immediate family. The Democratic Party is really looking for an alternative.
And so polls like that, other internal polls I've looked at, all the
That's a dagger. You said that's the attitude that I believe is in the Democratic Party, with the exception of Joe Biden and a few of his close aides and perhaps his family. That's a bar. That is a bar. Jake Tapper is not the type of dude who's like that normally, okay? That's a sassy ass, that's some sassy ass to say. It would have been even funnier if he said, and Joe Scarborough. It's like, it seems like there's 8 total people in the country that think Joe Biden should continue running. Biden is one of them, but he's ineligible to vote in this, given his own mental capacity. And George Scarborough is a close second.
public polling is being forwarded to the White House every day, forwarded to the president's top advisor saying, please read this, because it shows how deep trouble you're in.
Taken right to the shredder.
So let's just look at some of it. Let's just look at some public polling now, to reinforce what Jake was just talking about. This is where we were just after the debate. This is the CNN projection. But because of all that polling, Donald Trump at 272. The light red is lean Republican. The dark red is solid Republican. The gold are toss-ups. Right now, we know, though, that Donald Trump is actually leading here as well. And he's leading here well. Maybe not by a lot. Democrats watching might be complaining, and that he's leading here as well. And he's going to get the congressional district. If the vote was today, he would get all of Nebraska's electoral votes at 2. So there's 302. As Jake just noted, you come over here, there are people who think New Hampshire right now is in play. There are people who think Virginia right now is in play. Arizona is blue here. That's my mistake. Donald Trump is leading there as well. So there's 330, right? Jake also mentioned Colorado. The governor of New Mexico has warned the White House. The governor of Minnesota has warned the White House. Why? Let's look at just some. This is new public polling, 7 battleground states released just today.
By the way, New Mexico, Nevada, and Arizona are entirely due to Joe Biden, not his age, are entirely due to Joe Biden's inability to bring out the youth vote, and more importantly, the Hispanic vote. Sometimes in many of these states, the youth vote is the Hispanic vote. I'm telling you right now, Arizona is a little bit more unique because Arizona is like a historically maverick state, I guess. Like, they carry on the legacy of John McCain. It's weird. It doesn't vote in the predictable fashion. They are the only like never Trump Republican state out there. Like, legitimately, there is a constituency of never Trump Republicans in Arizona. I will admit that. Gaza and the border policy, which came at the last minute. Like, this is a fourth quarter self bucket, okay? Where he did two things that made it so that people would definitely not vote for him. Key constituencies in these states that he needs to win would definitely not vote for him. Gaza is a major problem for anyone under the age of 35. Maybe not so much that they'll stop dead in their tracks. Not everyone has the same attitude that I have, right? But that is not something Biden needs right now. What Biden needs is people to be motivated to vote for him. And those people were already not motivated to vote for him because they thought he was old. Do you see what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about like old now, post-debate. I'm talking like these people were like, yeah, he's old. He kind of sucks. Shit's expensive. I hate Trump. I'm not invested in this election like I was last time. That's the attitude from a lot of young people. That's the attitude from a lot of Hispanic voters. And then he went out and did something that genuinely pissed off a lot of young people. The mass arrests on college campuses, the endless violence in Gaza. the ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza. And last but not least, he turned around and he tried to pass a right-wing immigration bill. That right-wing immigration bill might have played well to the Pennsylvania suburbs because they watch too much television and think that like Guatemalans are going to their daughters or something. But that was so bad. And I said this the day that he came out with this right-wing immigration bill. And I've done so many videos on this, chat. You can go and watch my videos from a couple months back when he first promoted this right-wing white native immigration bill. I said it's bad policy and it's bad politics. And I told you, I specifically pointed out Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico as states where there are a lot of young Hispanic voters that are going to see you push this right-wing anti-immigration bill, and they're going to say, we're not voting for you, just as racist as Donald Trump is.
Forgive me for turning my back. I want to turn this out. Look at the incumbent president's vote share. Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Nevada. 42 is the highest the incumbent president gets in vote share in these battleground states. That's a path to big loss, even if Donald Trump can't get to 50 because of the third-party candidates. Look how closely it correlates to the president's approval rating. This is the president's approval rating, 36%, 37% in Arizona, 42% in Georgia, 40% of the vote. You get it. You follow it through. If he cannot get his approval rating to go that way, he can't move that. And that number has been stuck or getting worse since the debate. That's one way to look at it. The other question is, voters are asking, is Biden up to the job? Again, forgive me for turning my back. I just want to stretch this out. Is he too old to be president in these 7 battleground states? 72% in Arizona say yes, 67% in Georgia, 70% in Wisconsin, 70% in Michigan, same in Pennsylvania, close to that 68% in North Carolina, 70% again. That's a lot of Democrats and a lot of independents. That's not just Republicans. You get into the 60s and 70s, you're talking about a lot of the president's own party saying they don't think he is up to the job. How do you change that? And then there's this. What's the number one issue in the country right now? One more time. Sorry again. Just want to stretch this out so you can see it. The percentage of registered voters rating the economy as fair or poor. He's the incumbent. He wants 4 more years. 73% in Arizona, close to 70% in Georgia, 74% in Michigan, 74% in North Carolina, just below 70% in Nevada, and 73% and 72% respectively in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. He's the incumbent president saying, stay the course, Jake. That's what people in these battleground states think about the economy. That's a tough sell. That is an incredibly hard sell. And these numbers, many Democrats say, this poll was taken over a long period of time. Most Democrats will tell you they're actually worse now. They're worse now. They expect Donald Trump to get a bounce because of what happened in this hall tonight and what will happen for the next 2 nights in this hall. And the Democratic convention is a month away. You want to know why Democrats are, use the term disarray, panic, worried, nervous? Look at that.
Yeah, and you said, how do you turn that around? And I know you meant that as a rhetorical question because the answer is, it really...
I think the best thing that could have happened to Trump was getting shot and not getting killed right before the RNC. Because now the RNC campaign, which the media was going to focus on nonstop, is not heavily featuring the psychopathic rhetoric that Republicans are known for. Half of the rhetoric is about how sick Donald Trump is for surviving. It's literally so bad. Because if Donald Trump hadn't been shot before the RNC, and if he'd been shot after, for example, you know what I mean? The RNC would have had some of the most unhinged you've ever heard, with the media covering it round the clock. It's also drawing a lot of eyes to the RNC. My family was watching RNC coverage, even though they hate Trump. I'm worried that when they see the RNC coverage, they're going to fall for like the now moderate propaganda that the RNC is trying to do. You know what I mean? I am a little worried about that because Americans are very stupid. We'll see what happens post RNC. Like I said, I think it would have been crazy for Biden to drop out pre RNC. It would be smart for Biden to drop out post RNC. Probably copium.
It hasn't ever been done.
It has never been done. David knows this. Both Davids know this. There's been no incumbent president in our lifetime. Again, Democrats will argue, well, wait, the national polls are a point or two. Some of these state polls are only 3 or 4 points. It's underneath the polls. It's the approval rating. It's, is he up to the job? Is he too old? What people think about the direction of the country and the state of the economy. You need some magic potion to change people's minds on 6 or 8 fundamental questions.
can accept this verdict, but he says it's early. People will focus in September. It's not early. People are going to start voting in September. And what's very clear is that these concerns have been hardened, that they've been there for a long time. They were hardened by the debate. He's in a situation that is, in my mind, irreversible. And I believe him when he says the stakes are huge of this election. If he believes it, he needs to take into consideration what the stakes are and make the best decision, not just for himself, but for the country.
And Abby, one of the things that the Democrats are trying to do right now, the Democratic National Committee, you said the voting takes place in September.
Yeah, they're not dropping this, dude, which they shouldn't, because it is genuinely insane. Like, the idea that, you know, Trump got shot at, so now Biden is somehow not old, and we shouldn't talk about that, is just as silly as demanding Biden shut the up about the top of the hour ad break, which comes at the top of every hour. I'm gonna serve you the 3-minute ad break, Jack. You think I'm old? You say I can't draw a clock. But I looked at my clock, and I saw, and at the top of the hour is a 3-minute ad break. Back in my day, that ad break used to be 1 minute long. Now it's 3 minutes long. But the price is still the same. $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Twitch Prime. Anyway, Twitch Prime is free. I was waiting for someone to give so I could say thank you. Anyway, here's a 3-minute ad break now. Look, folks. Anyway, back in my day, you couldn't find 50 bones in a graveyard. Donald Trump knows a lot about graveyards. He went to one. Said the veterans are gay. I was there. I was one of the veterans in the grave. And another thing, World War II was a bad war. I was there too. Came all the way out from Delaware. You pushing this impression and it isn't getting better? You're wrong. I think this impression is pretty good. I disagree vehemently. I think it's only getting better, actually. Like, my impression is literally getting better as time goes on, because that's how it works. As time passes, I become older, and therefore closer to Biden's age. I'm already like more than halfway there.
I know you're saying, I know you're saying, Joe, you may not have a Congress. Well, guess what? You all told me I couldn't pass the Inflation Reduction Act. You all told me I couldn't face it. Anyway, we did it. We're going to bring rents down, as I said. We're going to build 2 million affordable homes. And cap rent increases of 5% a year so corporate landlords can't.
Is that not good? I think my impression is pretty good.
God. Anyway, I don't want to get going.
What, again? He double anyway? Bro, back in the day, there was like at least a refractory period. Back in the day, there was at least a refractory period between the anyways. Like, there would be like a 3-minute barrier. You know what I mean? He hit the anyway, and then he wouldn't hit it again for like 5. Now the refractory period is lowered. It's literally 10 seconds, dude. Look.
Basically, anyway, we did it.
3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi,
we're gonna bring
5
rents
Mississippi,
down, as I said, we're gonna build 2 million
Mississippi,
affordable
7
homes.
Mississippi, 8 Mississippi,
Cap rent
9
increases of
Mississippi.
5% a year so corporate landlords can't.
I guess there was a cut. It was edited. I was wrong. They lowered his cooldown.
God. Anyway, I don't want.
Yeah, no, they cut it. They cut it. Anyway, cooldown gets shorter the older he gets. Oh, Biden has tested positive and had to cancel his speech today. Positive for what? Bro, that's literally from a minute. He got COVID? Biden says he'd reevaluate campaign if medical condition emerged. No way, dude. This happened like yesterday. Or not yesterday, like earlier today. Yo, you think it's God? Do you think this is a way out, boys? Biden has COVID? I mean, he's dead. Oh my God. President Biden has just tested positive for COVID. Oh my God. Now, let me tell you something. He's gotten COVID before. I'm posting. I had to do it to him. I said, it seems like the Lord Almighty is evening the score this time around. Bro, this is literally what happened Dude, anyone that says canceled is so wrong. Dude, COVID literally let Biden win. COVID gave Biden the victory. Not only did COVID give Biden the victory, Trump got COVID right before the election. Now Biden's like, I'm not dropping. Unless the Lord Almighty tells me I'm dropping, I'm not dropping. And now the Lord Almighty has spoken. 3 days ago, Donald Trump dodged a bullet. And I'm not using that as a regular colloquialism, as a phrase. I'm saying he literally dodged a bullet by like 5 centimeters. Okay? Call me Pacino the way life is a game of inches. Donald Trump was too busy looking at the Hispanics are doing rape chart in the right moment that he grazed his ear. Okay? The bullet grazed the mother ear. Then, now, Joe Biden, after saying, the Lord Almighty alone can take me down. If he tells me I can't run, I'll stop running. Kamala sneaking COVID blankets into his bedroom. Kamala Harris behaving like the Pilgrims did. Kamala Harris wrapping Joe Biden up, singing him bedtime lullabies, wrapping him up in COVID blankies. Now, what's really interesting is, like I said, this morning, Biden said he would consider dropping out of the race if a medical condition was diagnosed by doctors. Now that medical condition has come. Will he survive this as well? And by that, I am using a double entendre. I'm using the double entendre of will he survive COVID because he's that old. Like the age of his COVID, the age that he got COVID now is like, you know, it's pretty consequential. But will he also survive claiming that he would consider dropping out? And then if he does survive COVID at this point, as I'm saying if, not when, if, not when, if he survives COVID, will he actually drop out? Look at CNN. He was spreading it all around. Second gentleman Doug Emhoff tests positive for COVID. July 7th. Bro. That's crazy. This motherfucker running around like the Grim Reaper, dude. Are you serious? This is a coup d'etat, ladies and gentlemen. This is a coup d'etat. This is why I can't trust. Ain't nothing was that funny ever. Excuse me, nice bathroom. Maybe this was when they planned the attempt. Okay, new big brain conspiracy time. Kamala Harris sends out the hitter, okay, to spin the block. And also simultaneously is giving COVID by way of Douglas Emhoff to the current president, taking out both at the same time. Only Kamala remains. Kamala not looking too bad for her age. Am I tripping? No, she's not at all. I don't think that's it. I don't think you're tripping at all. Like, not that her looks matter at any in any way, shape, or form, but no, I mean, I think a lot of Kamala Harris. Here's how you know Kamala Harris is attractive, okay, to like most people, because, and Kat brought this up on her Mother Jones article. There's only 2 responses that Republicans have to women in positions of power on the opposing team. They either get like really weird and or they get like, oh, this person is like a feminazi and she doesn't want dick, right? Like, and she's like gross and cold. With Kamala Harris, they go with the race strat, like in the same way that they do with AOC. That's one way you can understand that, like, even Republicans find her attractive. It's a gross way to describe it, but like, unfortunately, American politics is gross, especially Republicans. They say unimaginably gross shit about AOC. And they say similar things to Kamala Harris as well. For those of you asking, why no crab dance for Joe Biden getting COVID? Sometimes we pray, okay? Sometimes it's not appropriate to celebrate too early. Do with that information what you will. Maybe I'm saying celebrate his swift recovery. I might be doing that. Maybe I'm saying that. Maybe I'm praying for his swift recovery, you know? You jinxed it with a bell? You don't know that. This is kind of hubris of man that has been written about thousands of years, daring to call upon the gods to take you down from power, inshallah. Yeah. I pray for a lot of things on a daily basis. I've gotten significantly more godly.
Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for your patience and understanding. Regrettably, I was just on the phone with President Biden, and he shared his deep disappointment at not being able to join us this afternoon.
Let's join our hands in prayer, chat.
The president has been at many events, as we all know, and he just tested positive for COVID. So, of course, we understand that he needs to take the precautions that have been recommended, and he did not obviously want to put anybody at risk. He said to tell my folks that we're not going to get rid of him that quickly. We're going to have a chance to hear from him in the future directly. He's just really sorry he couldn't be with us, and obviously we share that disappointment, but we've seen how COVID has still impacted many in our community still, and we understand that he needs to take the steps he needs to take to not just protect himself, but to protect all of us. So we appreciate it very much.
38% of all deaths is in California is COVID. It's an 8% chance. 38% references. Yeah, I get it. I'm saying 38% is the percentage of deaths. And the dodge skill is already on cooldown from Trump. Do you think there's a chance that the officials step in having Biden step down without stepping down? Dude, if Biden dies to COVID after Trump survives the shooting, conservatives will literally come so hard that all the red states will be flooded. Careful what you wish for. Oh, God. They'll say he got like 1 million boosters too, and that like boosters don't work. Ain't no way the RNC isn't going to make a joke about this and destroy any goodwill they gain from Trump being shot. It would be so hard for Donald Trump to hold it back. He might hit him with a Ruth Bader Ginsburg style. Oh, he might hit him with one of these, dude. He might hit him with one of these.
She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time.
I think this is probably one of the greatest political clips of all time. Like, it has its built-in soundtrack. Like, it has it all. Genuinely, one of the greatest political clips of all time. So iconic.
Thank you very much.
Just walks away. I've never forgotten about that clip. It lives in my mind all the time. That's why I brought it up immediately. Statement from Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Biden testing positive for COVID-19. Dude, what is going on right now, dude? This is boulders after boulders, daggers after daggers. Most boring election of our lifetime, but has the capacity to become the most interesting. Yeah, call it Jovid. It's Jover because he's got Jovid. Statement from Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre earlier today following his recent event in Las Vegas. President Biden tested positive for COVID-19. He's vaccinated and boosted, and he's experiencing mild symptoms. He'll be returning to Delaware, where he will self-isolate and will continue to carry out all of his duties fully during that time. The White House will provide regular updates on the president's status as he continues to carry out the full duties of the office while in isolation. DNC uses a COVID test with a high known false positivity as a guise to replace Biden, thinking Americans wouldn't question him mysteriously and coincidentally contracting COVID in the middle of a summer when transmission is the lowest. I wanted to try and say this before. Other people say it seriously, but it's probably too late already. Biden is faking COVID as a pretext to step aside. I mean, he got a COVID. He tested positive for COVID literally right like 4 hours after he said he would drop out if he had a medical emergency. It's not like, and it also happens to perfectly correspond with post-RNC. He said he would drop out and reevaluate campaign if medical condition emerged. Article comes out. He gets COVID. It's happening right as the RNC is like coming to a close. This is like, you know, people say the NBA is scripted, but this is like WWE levels of scripting. He was obviously referring to a cognitive condition, though. Rooting for COVID. Okay. Maybe he's faking it to save face. Another tweet you can dunk on. I'll be blunt, President Biden says in Harrisonburg, Pennsylvania. I ended the pandemic. He didn't. Well, guess it's not over. Yeah, remember when Biden said this? Only the Lord Almighty can convince me to quit. That's why I tweeted what I tweeted. That's why I said, seems like Lord Almighty is evening the score this time around. That's what that was a reference to. Him saying only the Lord Almighty can take me out of this race, which is someone in the chat said, he said he ended the pandemic, but the pandemic about to end him. Don't Jim Bearer. I highly doubt he will ever drop out. I think he has to address his health concerns since people clearly aren't taking to his prior answers. I mean, I'm so cynical that I think there's credence to the conspiracy theories in the chat about like Biden using this as an opportunity to push the conversations about him being replaced even further. Biden just tested positive for COVID. Polymarket says earlier today he said he'd consider dropping out. Odds he drops out shot up to 66%. Nate Silver comes out, says big swing in the market. Although I have to admit, my first reaction was the White House would just use this as another excuse to run out the clock. Not fair to talk about him dropping out when he has COVID and can't defend himself. He has to maintain a life schedule, etc. Yeah. Like, everyone is thinking the same shit. You know it's dangerous times. You know it's weird times when I am in agreement with Nate Bronze, dude. Nate Poo-Poo Caca over here. That's craziness. That's wild. But it is where we're at now. Holy moly. He's Nate Gold now? No, he's not. I'm not going to say that. Okay? That's crazy. I got to tune into Fox News to see what the hell they're chirping. What the hell they're running with right now, dude. I need to see.
There's millions of data points for identity theft.
They haven't even gotten to it.
We fix it. Guaranteed.
Life insurance is too important to put off another day.
New report. Biden was the first subject to be diagnosed with long COVID symptoms before being infected. I mean, he was infected before. I mean, holy moly, dude. What is going on, dude? We're leftists, Hassan. We cheer on Nate Silver and Nancy Pelosi now. MSNBC's covering it.
Are no longer with us. People's grandmas were dying alone with their iPad. Mm-hmm. Great opportunity and messaging opportunity should the White House choose to take it.
Well, I think that's true. And there's no doubt he'll be responsible and he will be home isolating.
He won't have a Superman thing on under his shirt like Trump wanted.
He will certainly
right?
not. But I think he also has, as David was just outlining there, a different, unique challenge right now. I mean, if you're on the Biden campaign, you're probably banging your head against the wall. You have your head in your hands, and you're thinking, of course, you want the president to be okay. He has access to the best doctors in the world. That's important for people to know. But also what they're trying to convey to the public right now is strength and inevitability, right? He spoke at the NAACP yesterday. He had a series of events that were important. The clock is kind of ticking down. It's important. Yes, they can do a lot over the next 5 days. And after people stop banging their head against the wall, they have to plan, as David said, what that looks like, whether it's interviews, engagements with social media experts and others. But they need to show him strong and powerful. Yes, they should use this as a moment on COVID, but they have a more immediate challenge right now, which is projecting to the Democratic Party he's inevitable and he's up to this job.
Yeah, well, here's the question that I have on that. These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do rallies, isn't that exactly the same? I mean, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same incident, but it's an elderly man coming through out of an illness.
It should, but it's also he did a great speech.
You can always count on MSNBC that cope.
He was probably going to do another good speech today.
Guys, this is actually good for him. Here's how Biden at the brittle old age of 81 getting COVID is actually a positive, okay?
There's banging their head against the wall because for strong supporters of the president, they're thinking, we were getting some momentum, we're getting close to the convention, he had a great speech, he did a good interview, etc. And now this is just going to halt things. And if you're not a fan of the president being the nominee, and there are some people out there, Senator Adam Schiff and others, then this delays everything. He can't have meetings in person. There can't be private meetings with leaders. This stalls that too. That's all a problem for the Democratic Party, all of it.
Let's bring back in Mike Memoli, who first joined us when this news broke at just about the top of the hour with the president canceling the appearance in the room that you are in there, where there was a crowd gathered, and we saw him now board Air Force One returning to Delaware. What else do we know at this hour?
So this room has emptied out quite quickly. We're just now learning some more details about the president's schedule.
Madness.
He was scheduled to fly to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware and then spend the public schedule for the rest of the week had indicated that they would be adding information as the week went on. Well, clearly he's now going to remain in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, his beach house there, while he's self-isolating. I'm told the First Lady is already there, so she will be present, probably self-isolating from her husband in that room. Interestingly, this...
Gosh, y'all's side is so dumb. Being shot is as bad as COVID. Wait, what? Y'all's side? What do you mean, y'all's side? We're watching MSDNC. What do you... Say y'all's
about this diagnosis as well, and it's important to note what he told that audience, that don't worry, the president will be back. Of course, there have been questions about what this will mean for the president in terms of his campaign schedule going forward, but obviously with all the questions about whether he will even remain in the race, those comments from Sisolak are certainly notable. It's also worth looking back to, as somebody who covered the entire 2020 campaign, including after the campaign was essentially shut down due to COVID in March of 2020, just how the Biden campaign had to adapt to that new situation. The Biden campaign is indicating nothing at this point about what this will mean going forward, but obviously so much has changed. He has already received that dose of Paxlovid. The guidance from the CDC in terms of self-isolation and when you can then return to public is different. We all noted, you may have even heard me on the hot mic question why the president was not wearing
but the state
a
has
mask.
seen little economic growth in recent years.
They're not hitting the bar. Fox News is not talking about it yet.
Colleagues in the press pool did shout to the president as he was boarding the plane to ask him how he felt, and he did say he felt good. So
yeah, y'all's side is so funny because like everyone here is making jokes about Biden getting COVID. When Trump got COVID, Republicans were like, if you even make jokes about this, we'll kill you. Okay, like that's the major difference here. Okay, aside from the Joe Biden like dead enders, okay, Brandon or Busters out here, which are a select few group of like blue anon, blue MAGA types. Most Democrats, you know, despite our disagreements on many issues, most Democrats are infinitely more critical of their own administration than Republicans ever will be. Republicans hail Trump as a deity. It's so stupid.
All of those
There's no comparison.
lawmakers, I'm sure, will be indicating and getting tested themselves in accordance with all the best guidance from the CDC about what happens next at this point. Ari.
Yeah, and Mike, I mean, the White House woke up today to Adam Schiff, who's very close to Speaker Pelosi, former Speaker Pelosi, discussing, again, the idea that maybe there should be a different nominee, which is a conversation that Jen Psaki and David Plouffe referred to that they have tried to quiet. I'm curious, do you have any barometer for us over the last 2+ weeks? The Lester Holt interview here on NBC as well, our sister network, was very publicly part of a calculated blitz to try to draw out several events and appearances to quiet the doubters. Can you just give us, again, obviously separate from the COVID diagnosis, a barometer of where today felt like going into this, before the diagnosis, before this news broke, because they had a lot of tough days, first several days after the debate. They argued that it was getting better, that was quieting after Clooney and other things. What was the sort of 0 to 10 on that as of today, before this news broke?
Well, the Biden campaign was really brushing off that new statement that came in the form of a statement to the Los Angeles Times first from Adam Schiff about the need for the president to step aside. They were pointing simply back to the letter that the president had written to the entire Democratic delegation in Congress about his intention to stay in the race and the fact that he felt that this conversation about the future of the Democratic ticket was only distracting what should be the primary goal for Democrats, which is defeating Donald Trump. That's a goal and an imperative that is even much more squarely in focus at this point, of course, with Republicans very much showing signs of unity in Milwaukee at their conference. I thought it was important, though, as you mentioned, some of the key details about Adam Schiff, somebody who is close to Nancy Pelosi, somebody who is a prodigious fundraiser in the Democratic Party, somebody who has raised lots of money and traveled quite often for what we call those frontline members, those members in the toughest congressional districts. Perhaps this is this indication on the part of Schiff that he is speaking for a group that does not feel like it can speak at this point. Schiff running, of course, his own campaign for Senate in California, but one against a Republican where he's heavily favored to be the victor in November. Rewind just 2 weeks, though, to what Adam Schiff said on NBC's Meet the Press when he talked about it was much more delicate in how he spoke about the need for the president to make a decision that was in the best interest of the party. As he put it then, when we hear the Biden campaign now talking about we haven't seen a major shift in the polls still show a single digit, a margin of error race. In fact, one poll showing the president ahead of Donald Trump by 2 points. That's one of their justifications for the president moving ahead, full speed ahead. But Schiff's point on Meet the Press 2 weeks ago was that it shouldn't be this close, that you're running against a convicted felon, that you're running against somebody who is deeply unpopular as well, and that in their view, somebody with the kind of political tailwinds behind them should be much further out in front. That was his warning 2 weeks ago. It's clear that he didn't think that the Biden team got the warning sufficiently, and that there is a need for more public outspoken criticism and for him to step aside. And you add that, Ari, to what we also saw today, which was the Democratic National Committee delaying what was the plan to begin the process.
Yeah, where presidents are dropping like flies, dude.
Process, a party-driven bureaucracy that requires several hoops to be jumped through before the Rules Committee can get to that point of doing it. But that process itself delayed at the behest not of the president, not of the Biden campaign, but of Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries.
Here's him walking to the plane
Congress,
after he tested positive for COVID, getting on Air Force One. Bro, God Almighty is literally telling him to step down, brother. That's like, there's no better indication. Kaya, okay, go. Want to go on a walk? He looks the same. Yeah. You can't tell if he's just like dying because of COVID or just dying because of age. Wait, how is this news/content? Every older adult who's vaccinated is mega protected from COVID. I literally go asymptomatic COVID a month ago. I don't think this is news. Nothing's going to happen. Dude, do you think Biden is a regular adult? He is 854 years old. He was there when the Black Plague was around. Dude, that's crazy. Bro just compared himself to Joseph Robinette Brandon. Biden has been living on borrowed time for like the past 40 years. You're out of your mind. He had a stroke when he was 40. This is also, I think this is the third time he has COVID. I thought it was the second, but maybe it's the third time. I posted this, I posted this fun little screenshot that I found on the Associated Press website when I was looking for the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, test positive for COVID. Right up top, it says, President Joe Biden tests positive for COVID-19 ahead of his speech. Don't come after Mamala. Okay, that's not what I was implying. I wasn't implying anything, actually. So if you try to say I was implying something, I'll tell you you're wrong. Okay? Ken Klippenstein update. I don't even know what that is. I can't believe it, dude. I cannot believe it. The Lord Almighty. He heard what Biden was saying.
Even over the next 3 to 5 days, this can't be a situation where Joe Biden's not visible. I'm sure he won't be, but he's got to be out there aggressively doing interviews and driving that. This is what the election's about. And it's got to be a lot less about his record. He's been an amazing president. He should be proud of his record. But elections are always about the future. You got to paint the picture for.
Dude, wait. Republican Senator Joni Ernst can barely summon the goodwill to wish President Biden well when asked to respond to the news he tested positive for COVID.
Thoughts about President Biden getting COVID? I mean, he can't catch a break.
I wish him well, Greta, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, okay. All right, we'll move on.
Oh my God, she's smiling. Bro, that's crazy. First of all, if I was a Republican and Biden got COVID, I wouldn't be so excited because the likelihood that he's replaced with a much stronger candidate is pretty high. It's higher than it was yesterday. And secondly, dude, Republicans are great, dude. Look. She can't even say it. Look.
Okay. All right, we'll move on then. All right. This Iranian threat, it is, I mean. Dude.
Republicans are such little demons. I bet you she complained about the Democratic Party's violent rhetoric earlier too. Yeah, that's identical energy when a Southerner says bless his heart. That's what she was saying. Shouldn't we all be wishing good health for the president, Republican or Democrat? Neek skit. Once again, thank you. Thank you. Nancy Pelosi after licking every doorknob in the White House. I think they want to blame COVID on his performance with this call to congressional Dems. We are a clown show. The Republican false flag the shooting. The Democrats false flag COVID. This is perfect. The European mind is beginning to comprehend.
Trump in America. Like, look how sick this is. Country music on the radio.
Dude, this is literally, he said, I'm listening to country music. He's listening to Avicii. But like, besides the point. That's besides the point. That's besides the point. Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. This is a very real experience. Okay? This is a very real experience. Now you understand why I love hogs so much. Okay? Now you understand why I love hogs so much.
My guess is what Kamala Harris herself would say is, welcome all comers. We'll talk to the delegates. We'll travel the country. In almost any scenario, she is going to be the Democratic nominee. Maybe it's not open. Maybe it's a baton handoff. Maybe it's open. I think she would be smart by saying, hey, I want to earn this. I'll welcome. And she is in the absolute driver's seat. And so I think that, many of the candidates that might be strong candidates, even though I think they would not be as strong as her as it relates to the delegates, have said they're not going to run. So I think there's...
The writers this season chose to give the politics enjoyers a real gift of scripts. Earlier, they were not interested, seemingly. They were like, this is going to be boring. You're going to hate it. It's a rerun. And then like at the last hour, they were like, you know what? Actually, just kidding. We're going to big time, okay? Shit's going to be looking like a soap opera.
Everything's okay, and we don't have...
Yeah, this is like when you say, like, it's a slow burn. It's a slow burn. This season is a slow burn. It takes a lot of buildup. But once you get to the apex, dude, when you get to peak velocity, it just goes nutty mode, okay? Back to back to back bangers.
Term, I think that's welcome to everybody. So I get the frustration, but at the end of the day, this will be settled. And we will our pair up, and I think everyone's going to be focused then on preventing Donald Trump from taking the oath of office on January 20th of next year.
David Plouffe giving us reaction to the breaking news: the president diagnosed with COVID, returning to Delaware today, and you, as a former campaign manager for the Obama-Biden campaign, talking about these fresh questions speaks, I think, to the wider both political and news reaction, in addition, of course, to what we always say around here, which is we wish him well. As we do the former president. A lot of health in the news. Our thanks to David Plouffe. We are following this breaking story, but we turn back to the RNC, where the speech list is really something. Convicted Trump ally Peter Navarro. We're following his movement as he went from prison this morning to the RNC stage tonight. You can see him. Also have JD.
That's awesome. Bro, they took him out of prison. They took him out of prison to... That's a... Dude. He came in like... He came in like this.
Long as 6 mile, brick mile, knock your down, pick her up, knock her back down, pull her tracks out.
Hit the Rolling Stone with the rollie on. Jag portfolio.
His AR has a heat sensor, of course. I don't like being called out like this, by the way. Like, this is a meme from 7 years ago. You don't have to be like, oh, look at LeBron going crazy over T Grizzly first day out.
So you long niggas,
When 40-year-olds like your music? Ay. Wait, Schumer has fallen? U.S. Senate Democratic leader Schumer told Biden in meetings on Saturday it would be better for the country if he ended his re-election bid. ABC News. Oh, my God. All my dogs turned to snakes, dude. I didn't believe it, Magic. Yeah, this is it. This is right. Are you enjoying the show? Refill your popcorn. You'll love the next part. Did you watch your 2024 Biden lock clip? It wasn't a real Biden lock clip. I think it was a chatter randomly clipping my like cage. What is it? Hell, mankind. I don't know what it is called. Oh my God. Dude, everyone's making the same joke. Holy shit. U.S. Senate Democratic leader Schumer told Biden in a meeting, I never believed in magic until all my dogs turn into snakes. Why? If Mamala gets handed the nom, will he play the K-Hive song again? Yes.